The brightest states of America, from most to least educated. See where your state ranks for the quality of its schools and its rate of high achievers. Alright, there's a smiling lady there, college graduate by Shane Murphy, December 15, 2020. This was from last year. First time I see this article. For most of us, learning and earning go hand in hand. While it's possible to make a respectable living without a degree, higher education generally leads to higher income and a lower chance of being unemployed. That's true on both an individual and societal level. Here's the situation in all 50 states, according to a recent WalletHub study that considers both the educational attainment of adults aged 25 or older and the quality of that education. Our analysis also includes other data from 2019, such as detailed educational stats from the Annie E. Casey Foundation and student loan data from the Institute for College Access and Success. Information on the best schools comes from Forbes 2019 Top Colleges list. Curious where your state fits in the rankings? We start with the most educated. Most educated state is Massachusetts. Look at that. Massachusetts. Share of adults with at least a bachelor's degree, 48%. That's a high number. Indisputably, Massachusetts is at the very top of the class. The Bay State ranks first for both educational attainment and quality of education, and also has the second highest average university quality. On top of that, Massachusetts has both the highest percentage of residents with bachelor's degree, but no graduate degree, and the highest percentage with graduate degrees in the country. The state is home to Harvard, the top-ranked school in the U.S., according to Forbes, as well as MIT, which is Massachusetts Institute of Technology, the fourth most highly rated school. The second is Maryland. Yep, Maryland. Share of adults with at least a bachelor's degree, 42%. Well, you know what? It's right. Maryland is right next to Washington, D.C. And a lot of people there, and across from D.C. work in the federal government. And to get a job in the federal government, most of those jobs working in D.C., you need a college degree. So that will help explain that too. Yep, you need a college degree to work in any kind of entry-level job. Most of the jobs, that is. So that might explain that when it comes to Massachusetts. Maryland has the second highest share of residents with a graduate degree in the country, and the third highest share of residents with a bachelor's degree, but not a graduate degree. The Free State is home to Johns Hopkins University and the United States Naval Academy, both of which rank among the top 25 schools in the U.S. I believe Johns Hopkins is in Baltimore. Number 3, Colorado. Share of adults with at least a bachelor's degree, 43%. Coloradans are clearly eager to learn. In terms of educational attainment, the state ranks second only to Massachusetts. It has the highest It has the second highest share of residents with a bachelor's degree but no graduate degree in the country. However, the quality of its education isn't so hot. The Centennial State doesn't even crack the top 20. So let's see now. We reached number 3, and they're already criticizing Colorado, saying, however, the quality of education isn't so hot. The Centennial State doesn't even crack the top 20. 3 of Colorado's colleges made the top 100 in Forbes list, with the United States Air Force Academy ranking the highest at number 43. Vermont. Look at those beautiful leaves, fall leaves. Share of adults with at least a bachelor's degree, 40%. Vermont ranks 5th for educational attainment and 8th for quality of education. The Green Mountain State. So that's where they got that name, Green Mountain Coffee. But I don't think they grow coffee in Vermont. But I did have some of that coffee. Makes sure the basics are covered. It's tied with Alaska for the 5th highest share of residents with high school diplomas in the country. That thirst for knowledge seems to be paying off. In 2019, Vermont's average unemployment rate was just 2.4%, the lowest in the country, alongside North Dakota. The top-ranked school in the state is Middlebury College, which came in at number 37 on Forbes list. 5, Connecticut. Share of adults with at least a bachelor's degree, 42%. Connecticut squeaks into the top 5 most educated states on the list, ranking 4th best for educational attainment, but only 9th best for quality of education. The Nutmeg State is home to Yale University, which Forbes ranked as America's 3rd best school overall, and also has some of the largest shares of bachelor's and graduate degree holders in the country. Unfortunately, the state's residents also carry some of the highest student debts at an average of $38,546. It's a lot of money there. Virginia comes in at number 6. Share of adults with at least a bachelor's degree, 42%. The mother of presidents and the mother of states has also birthed an impressive number of graduates. The Old Dominion's scores for educational attainment and quality of education are both among the top 10 in the country. It also has the 4th highest percentage of residents who hold a graduate degree. Virginia's 3 top-ranked schools, the University of Virginia, Washington, and Lee, and the College of William and Mary, all made the top 50 on Forbes list. 7. Washington. Share of adults with at least a bachelor's degree, 38%. You won't find much red ink staining the evergreen state. It earns high marks on both key tests. Washington is the 9th best state for educational attainment and the 10th best for quality of education. Its top-rated schools are the University of Washington, Seattle, and Whitman College, which Forbes rated as the 64th and 89th best in the country, respectively. Despite these rankings, Washington's average unemployment rate in 2019 was quite high at 4.3%, tied with Kentucky as the 7th highest in the country. New Hampshire Share of adults with at least a bachelor's degree, 38%. When it comes to diplomas and degrees, the Granite State rocks. Only 6% of its adults haven't made it through high school, helping New Hampshire become the sixth best state for overall educational attainment. However, New Hampshire's score for quality of education was lower than any of the other schools in the top 10 on this list. WalletHub rated it as the 27th best. On top of that, New Hampshire had the highest average student loan debt in the country at $39,410, as well as the highest percentage of post-secondary graduates in debt, a staggering 74%. New Jersey at number 9. Share of adults with at least a bachelor's degree, 44%. Young minds are blooming in the Garden State. New Jersey ranks as the 5th best for quality of education and 10th best for educational attainment. The state is positively packed full of post-secondary graduates. It's tied with Connecticut for the 4th highest share of residents with a bachelor's degree. New Jersey is home to Princeton, an Ivy League school that Forbes has ranked as the country's 5th best. In 2019, New Jersey's average unemployment rate was slightly lower than the national average at 3.6%. Look at that. And even though that was the case 2019, it's not that long ago, the current governor who just had an election there nearly lost. Isn't that something? They had like such low unemployment, but the current governor, who is a Democrat, he nearly lost to a Republican who brought up a lot of social issues and so forth. You know, in the old days, you used to think like when somebody has a job, they're doing well, they could pay their bills, they'll be contented. I guess that's not the case anymore. Number 10 is Minnesota. Share of adults with at least a bachelor's degree, 40%. Rounding out the top 10 on our list is the North Star State, which deserves to shine as a guiding light to other areas of the country. Minnesota is the 8th best in the country for educational attainment, though only the 18th best for quality of education. And to its detriment, the land of 10,000 lakes is also the land of tens of thousands in students' loan debt. About 2/3 of graduates in the state are in debt. That's not good. And they are currently shouldering an average burden of $31,856, the 3rd largest share in the U.S. Utah, 11. Share of adults with at least a bachelor's degree, 35%. Utah comes in at number 11 overall and coincidentally also ranks 11 for both educational attainment and quality of education in WalletHub's findings. While you might find better schooling elsewhere, it seems you won't find it nearly as cheap. The Beehive State has the lowest average student debt of any state, just $17,935. So very, very cold state too. maybe that has something to do with it. Very cold. And only 40% of Utah's graduates were in debt, which is the lowest share in the country. It's cold in the winter, hot in the summer. 12, Illinois. Okay, share of adults with at least a bachelor's, 79%. Sure enough, the land of Lincoln is also the land of learning. Illinois has respectable ratings for educational attainment and quality of education. Plus, two of Illinois' top-rated schools, the University of Chicago and Northwestern, both made the top 20 on Forbes' top college lists. Unfortunately, some graduates in the state may find it difficult to lock down a job. In 2019, the average unemployment rate in Illinois was well over the national average at 4%. New York comes in at 13. Share of adults with at least a bachelor's degree, 40%. The Empire State doesn't seem that impressive at first, ranking 18th in educational attainment and 16th in quality of education. Yet New York is the only state that's home to two Ivy League colleges, Columbia and Cornell, and all five of its top-rated schools made the top 50 on Forbes' list. So two Ivy Leagues, Columbia and Cornell. Yep. Those impressive institutions helped New York rank 5th best for average university quality. It also has the 5th highest share of graduate degree holders in the country. Oregon. Share of adults with at least a bachelor's degree, 35%. Although the busy beavers of the Beaver State dutifully seek out higher education, when it comes to quality, Oregon leaves something to be desired. It's ranked 10th worst in the country. None of Oregon's highest rated schools cracked the top 100 on Forbes' list, although Reed College in Portland came the closest at number 105. The average statewide unemployment rate in 2019 was exactly the same as the national average, 3.7. Hawaii. Share of adults with at least a bachelor's degree, 34%. The Aloha State has solid stats for educational attainment, although the standard of its education isn't anything to hula about. The average quality of Hawaii's universities is the 4th lowest in the country. The only school to make Forbes' list was the University of Hawaii, Manoa, way down at number 385. On the bright side, Hawaii has a low percentage of graduates who are still shouldering debt, 43%, which is the second lowest in the U.S. Wyoming. Share of adults with at least a bachelor's degree, 28%. Although Wyoming is tied with Indiana for the 10th lowest share of adults with at least a bachelor's degree, it's no haven for dropouts. Wyoming is also tied with a couple other states for the smallest share of adults without a high school diploma. Overall educational attainment in the equality state is higher than the median, and the quality of education in Wyoming is quite good. Plus, Wyoming has a comparatively low average student debt at $23,444 and has one of the lowest shares of graduates still shouldering debt at 46%. Delaware. 17. Share of adults with at least a bachelor's degree, 34%. The Diamond State is fairly mediocre when it comes to educational attainment, but shines in its quality of education. WalletHub ranks it as the 12th best in the country. However, Delaware only has one school on Forbes' 2019 top college list, the University of Delaware, which came in at number 147. Delaware also has the fifth highest average student debt in the U.S. at $37,447, and in 2019, the statewide unemployment rate was above the national average at 3.8%. Maine comes in at 18. Share of adults with at least a bachelor's, 34%. The Pine Tree State gets a fair grade for its number of degrees and diplomas, but when it comes to quality, Mainers are pining for better. That said, its top schools are among the best nationwide. Maine's three highest ranked colleges, Bowdoin, Bates, and Colby, all made the top 100 on Forbes' list. Studying here can be pricey though, and the state is tied with West Virginia for the third highest share of graduates carrying student loan debt at 67%. Montana, number 19. Share of adults with at least a bachelor's degree, 35%. According to WalletHub's finding, Big Sky Country is not so big on quality. Montana ranks as the 11th worst in the country for the standard of its education, and the average quality of its universities is the absolute worst of any state in the union. The Treasure State's highest rated institutions barely cracked the top 400 in Forbes' list. However, in terms of educational attainment, Montana fares quite well and is tied for the lowest share of high school dropouts in the U.S. North Dakota. Share of adults with at least bachelor's degree, 32%. North Dakota has decent ratings for both attainment and quality, but it seems like its highest achieving students don't stick around. It has the lowest percentage of graduate degree holders in the country. Neither of North Dakota's two schools that made Forbes' top college list cracked the top 350. However, that doesn't mean North Dakotans are struggling to find work. The state was tied with Vermont for the lowest unemployment in the U.S. That's just 2.4% of the total workforce. In 2019, 21, Wisconsin. Share of adults with at least a bachelor's degree, 34%. The Badger State is burrowed deep in the rankings for educational attainment, but its schools certainly earn their stripes. WalletHub says it has the 13th best overall quality of education, and the average quality of its universities comes in at number 4. The top-rated school in America's Dairyland is the University of Wisconsin-Madison, which was ranked 69th in the country in Forbes' top college list. The job prospects for graduates in Wisconsin are also encouraging. In 2019, the average unemployment rate was below the national average at 3.3%. Rhode Island, number 22. Shares of adults with at least a bachelor's, 37%. Although Rhode Island is home to Brown University, an Ivy League school that's ranked 7th best in the country, the state's overall attainment and quality are merely average. None of the other colleges in the Ocean State cracked the top 100 in Forbes' top colleges list, with the Rhode Island School of Design coming in second at number 112. Little Rhodey is notable for the gargantuan size of its resident student debt. which is the nation's fourth highest at an average of $37,614. Nebraska. Share of adults with at least a bachelor's degree, 36%. Nebraska looks pretty good on the outside, with a better than average share of diplomas and degrees. It also had one of the lowest unemployment rates in the country in 2019 at just 3.0%. But once you peel back the surface, you'll find the Cornhusker state is 38 when it comes to the quality of its education. Nebraska's top-rated school, Creighton University, came in at 194 on Forbes' top college list, and only two of the state's other colleges cracked the top 500. Kansas, 24. Share of adults with at least a bachelor's degree, 35%. Although the Sunflower State stands tall at number 13 for educational attainment, the quality of its book learning is extremely low, the third worst in the country. The second-rated school in the nation is the University of Kansas, which ranked at number 260 on Forbes' list. Fortunately, the seeds of knowledge planted in Kansas's so-so schools seem decent enough for graduates to find work. In 2019, the average statewide unemployment rate was well below the national average at 3.2%. California comes in number 25. Wow. Now they have a big population out there. I think like close to 50 million. Share of adults with at least a bachelor's degree, 36%. The Golden State gets a gold star for quality of education. It's the third best in the country overall, and also has the highest average university quality of all 50 states. The 5 highest ranked schools in California all made the top 25 on Forbes' list. However, when it comes to the number of people accessing that stellar education, California comes up short. It has the highest share of adults without a high school diploma in the country at 15%. Alaska, 26. Share of adults with at least a bachelor's, 30%. Alaskans bring home plenty of diplomas and degrees, but employers might give them the cold shoulder. The quality of the state education is the 5th lowest in the country. Of the 2 schools in the state that made Forbes' top colleges list, the one with the highest ranking, University of Alaska Fairbanks, came in at number 574. Alaska also had the highest average unemployment rate in 2019 at 6.1% of the state's total workforce. Florida, number 27. Share of adults with at least a bachelor's degree, 31%. Although the number of graduates in the Sunshine State is nothing to beam about, those that do attend have a bright future. The overall quality of education in Florida is 4th best in the country. Narrow your view to the state's universities and things look even better. They're the 3rd best in the U.S. Its 2 top-rated schools, the University of Florida and the University of Miami, both made the top 100 in Forbes list as well. Michigan comes in at 28th. Share of adults with at least a bachelor's degree, 32%. You aren't guaranteed a great education in the Great Lakes states. It ranks 35 out of 50 for overall quality. However, a respectable number of residents do finish high school and pick up a degree. Although Michigan's highest rated school, The University of Michigan, Ann Arbor, was ranked number 20 on Forbes' list. No other schools in the state cracked the top 150, and job prospects for graduates in Michigan aren't so hot. In 2019, the average unemployment rate was higher than the national average of 4.1%. Share of adults with at least a bachelor's degree, 32% in Iowa. In both achievement and quality, Iowa ranks slightly below the halfway mark nationwide. Its top-rated school, Grinnell College, came in at number 80 on Forbes' list, while the next highest entry, the University of Iowa, ranked 160th. But if you take a close look, you'll notice the Hawkeye State isn't heading for jobs. Iowa had an average unemployment rate of just 2.7% back in 2019. That was the fourth lowest rate in the country, tied with Hawaii. Yeah, well, they have a lot of people who come across the border working illegally in Iowa, like in the farms and so forth. Yeah, and that was in the news. Some guy killed some girl out there working illegally. I mean, it's one thing. You hear illegal and you have a job, you should be thankful at least. And then he goes out and kills some girl who was jogging. And that was in Iowa. Pennsylvania, 30 on the list. Share of adults with at least a bachelor's, 35%. You can still get a solid education in Pennsylvania, which ranks slightly below the median for attainment and slightly above for quality. 8 of the Keystone State's highest ranked schools made the top 100 on Forbes' list, included the University of Pennsylvania, which came in at number 6. Unfortunately, you are not guaranteed to unlock a great job that will pay the bills. Pennsylvania has the second highest average student debt in the country at 39,027, and the average unemployment rate in 2019 was quite high. 31. North Carolina. Share of adults with at least a bachelor's degree, 34%. The Tar Heel State doesn't have an easy pitch. Its quality of education falls just below the median, while it ranks 32nd for educational attainment. That said, there's still a few good reasons to study there. North Carolina's 3 highest rated schools all made the top 50 on Forbes' list, and its top rated school, Duke University, even made the top 100. On top of that, the average student debt is fairly low, as is the share of graduates still shouldering debt. 32. Missouri. That's the show me state. The show me state doesn't have much to show off. It's ranked in the bottom 20 for both attainment and quality. Missouri's highest rated school, Washington University in St. Louis, came in at number 31 on Forbes' list, but it was the only college in the state to crack the top 150. Regardless, Missourians are having little trouble finding jobs. The unemployment rate in 2019 was lower than the national average at 3.3% of the state's total workforce. Ohio. Alright. Share of adults with at least a bachelor's degree, 31%. So that kind of dropped from like 34 and 35. Ohio is at the middle of the pack when it comes to the quality of education. However, residents of the Buckeye State aren't snapping up degrees in great numbers, even though the three highest rated schools in Ohio all fared reasonably well on Forbes' list. The average student loan debt in Ohio is under $30,000, but the share of graduates who still have debt is fairly high, at 60%. The state's unemployment rate in 2019 was also significantly higher than the national average. They didn't show it. Georgia, 34. Share of adults with at least a bachelor's degree, 34%. The Peace State can offer a decent education, but its attainment score isn't exactly peachy. It falls far below WalletHub's median ranking. Those who choose to pursue higher education have plenty of strong options. The three highest rated colleges in Georgia all made the top 100 on Forbes' list, with Emory University taking the state's top spot at number 55, and the Georgia Institute of Technology coming in second at number 65, and graduates can expect to find jobs waiting for them. In 2019, the statewide unemployment rate in Georgia was below the national average at 3.4% of the total workforce. South Dakota, shares of adults with at least bachelor's degree, 31%. The Mount Rushmore state has some challenges to face. It falls a little short of the mark for attainment, then takes a big tumble on quality. The average quality of South Dakota's university is the third lowest in the country, and its highest rated school, Augustana University, barely squeezed into the top 400 on Forbes' list. South Dakota is also tied with New Hampshire for the highest percentage of graduates still struggling with student loan debts at 74%. Idaho is number 36. Share of adults with at least a bachelor's, 29%. Let's see who's calling here. Jersey City. Okay, probably one of those car dealership thing. We calling you a last courtesy call before we close your file that your warranty is about to expire. I get these spam calls a lot. So while the Gem State's collection of degrees and diplomas is lackluster, it's the quality of education that could use a serious polish. Idaho falls into the bottom 5 in that category. None of Idaho's highest rated schools made the top 400 in Forbes' list. Although Brigham Young University, Idaho, came close at 413, and this is the state that's a staunch supporter of Donald Trump. Idahoans are managing to keep busy though. In 2019, the average unemployment rate was just 2.9%, tied with Massachusetts for the 6th lowest in the country. Indiana, 37. So where Mike Pence is from, where he was governor. Share of adults with at least a bachelor's, 28%. The quality of education in Indiana is extremely high, 7th best in the country, but the Hoosier State, is it Hoosier or Hoosier State, poor level of educational attainment drag it way down on our list. Indiana has one of the lowest rates of higher education in the U.S., despite being home to 5 of the country's 150 best schools, including the University of Notre Dame, which Forbes ranked at number 18. Thankfully, the job market is strong. Unemployment in Indiana is lower than average. Only 3.3% of the state's total workforce was jobless in 2019. Arizona, 38. Share of adults with at least a bachelor's degree. Yeah. That'll be 44 out of 50, and its rating for educational attainment isn't very inspiring either. None of Arizona's highest rated schools hit the top 150 on Forbes list. The best, Arizona State University, Tempe, came in at number 186. Arizona also had one of the highest average unemployment rates in the country in 2019 at 4.7%. So this is the state that gave us that woman, Kristen Sinema, the one who been holding up President Biden's Build Back America bill that would help a lot of people. She said, well, there's just too many things in there that we'll have to pay for. So here's a state that's not doing that well, education-wise too. They're not as well. Well, and this is the choice they made. This is the person they sent to Washington to represent them, instead of somebody like Mark Kelly, who is a very intelligent person, who commanded the space shuttle. I mean, really, Yeah. Not that Sinema isn't. From what I heard, she's as smart as the devil. But, the devil is smart in other ways, too. That will make you harm your own self. And Texas comes in at number 39. And they have like 32% of the degrees. If WalletHub had used a different grading system, Texas would receive a Lone Star for educational attainment. Only one other state fares worse at encouraging its students to finish high school. That seems to have little to do with Texas' quality of education, which is quite respectable at 15 out of 50. Its three highest rated schools all made the top 100 on Forbes' list. The statewide unemployment rate in 2019 was below the national average. Oklahoma, at number 40, share of adults with at least a bachelor's degree dropped to 27%. Considering Oklahoma's decent quality of education, WalletHub ranks it as the 23rd best. Residents of the Sooner State may have expected to see it pop up sooner on this list. Alas, poor numbers in the halls of higher learning cement its spot as the 11th least educated state in the Union. Oklahomans can take some solace in the fact that their average student loan debt is one of the lowest, $25,000. Tennessee. I've been down there to Tennessee. Bachelor's degree, 31%. Few students in the volunteer state are taking the initiative to continue their education, leading to a ranking of 41 out of 50 for attainment. The quality of education in Tennessee fares a bit better, although it's still nothing to brag about. WalletHub places it in the 31st position. Vanderbilt University is the state's highest rated school, coming in at number 27 on Forbes list. New Mexico, 42. Share of adults with at least a bachelor's, 27%. New Mexico is known as the land of enchantment, but residents are likely disillusioned about the quality of education in their state. It's ranked 4th to worst in the country. It also has the highest share of adults without a high school diploma than most other states, and none of New Mexico's highest rated schools managed to sneak into the top 400 on Forbes list. Thankfully, that education comes at a bargain price. New Mexico has the second lowest student debt in the country at $20,991. Nevada, 43. Share of adults with bachelor's degree, 25%. Studying in Nevada can be a bit of a gamble. Yep. It ranks 30th for quality of education, and none of Nevada's highest rated schools entered the top 300 on Forbes list. Educational attainment is considerably worse at 44 to 50. Only a quarter of Nevada's adults have a bachelor's or graduate degree, and an alarming 14% having graduated high school. And this is Nevada. South Carolina, 30%, but with bachelors. Many of South Carolina's students are choosing not to continue their studies, and perhaps for good reason. The quality of his education is considered the second worst in the country. And this is one of the reddest states, South Carolina. Yep. Wow. It's as red as you can get. The highest ranked school in South Carolina on Forbes list is Furman University, which came in at number 127. Regardless, people aren't struggling to find jobs in the Palmetto State. Its average unemployment rate in 2019 was encouraging 2.8%. Kentucky. This is the state of Mitch McConnell and Rand Paul. And let's see, quality of education in the bluegrass state is only a bit below the median, but its attainment score hits a sour note. Kentucky has a substantial rate of high school dropouts, and over half of its adults haven't achieved anything greater than a diploma. On top of that, Kentucky has the fourth lowest share of adults with bachelor's degree in the country. None of its highest rated schools made it in the top 200 on Forbes list, with Center College taking the state's top spot at 209. Alabama. Share of adults with at least a bachelor's degree, 27%. Hopefully, Alabama's famous cotton can cushion this blow. The state ranks extremely low in both educational attainment and quality of education, 6th worst and 8th worst respectively. None of Alabama's highest rated schools made the top 150 on Forbes list, with Auburn University coming in close at number 166. That said, Alabama manages to keep more of its residents employed than some of the other states at the bottom of this list. In 2019, the average unemployment rate in Alabama was 3%, which was tied with Maine and Nebraska for the 7th lowest in the country. Arkansas, home of Bill Clinton. Can you imagine if Bill Clinton was a staunch conservative? Would he have ever made it to be president out of Arkansas? Probably not. The natural state has an unnaturally low number of degrees, 24%. Nationwide, it has the 3rd lowest percentage of adults with bachelor's degree, as well as the 3rd lowest share of graduate degree holders. Unfortunately, WalletHub suggests the quality of an Arkansas education isn't great either. It has the 5th lowest average university quality in the country. None of its highest rated schools reached the top 250 of Forbes list, with the University of Arkansas taking the top spot at 271. Louisiana, 48. Share of adults with degrees, Bachelor's degree, 26%. It seems students' life not so sweet in the sugar state. Its overall educational attainment is the third worst in the country, and the quality of its education is ninth worst. Louisiana has one of the highest rates of adults without a high school diploma, and is tied with Kentucky for the fifth lowest share of adults with at least a bachelor's degree. To top it off, in 2019, Louisiana had the fifth highest unemployment rate in the country at 4.8% of the total workforce. 49, West Virginia. This is where Senator Manchin is from. West Virginia gets number 49, and he said he's working hard for his state. The mountain state has a mountain of work to do when it comes to encouraging students. It's ranked dead last in the country for educational attainment. West Virginia also has the second lowest percentage of residents with a graduate degree. The quality of West Virginian education isn't so bad, but once you have it, paying off your student debt will be a daunting task. 2/3 of the state's graduates are still shouldering some financial burden from their college loan. 50, dead last is Mississippi. This is the state that sent that abortion case to the Supreme Court. So here they are dead last. Let me read what they have. 22% with bachelor's degree. Right? The label of least educated state in the United States goes to Mississippi, which the WalletHub study calls dead last in quality of education and second to last in both educational attainment and average university quality. Mississippi is tied with West Virginia as the state with the lowest share of residents that hold at least a bachelor's degree. It has a significant number of high school dropouts, and more than half of its adult residents haven't achieved more than a high school diploma. More than a half. Worst of all, it's clear people aren't skipping their school because jobs are so abundant. In 2019, Mississippi had the second highest average unemployment rate in the country at 5.4%. So this is getting back, this is the same state that sent that case to the Supreme Court with the abortion, I think 15 weeks or something like that. If you don't even know you're pregnant, well, that's just too bad for you, I guess. You find another state, in Texas, another state too, that passed one of those laws. And if you look at the state of Texas compared to, say, like the state of Delaware, if you're a woman or a girl in Delaware and you need an abortion, and they had a law like that in Delaware, then Delaware is a small state. You can just drive through it in no time, and you could go to another state and get an abortion. But Texas is a huge state. You could be driving for hours and you're still in Texas. That's what makes those laws problematic. So here in Mississippi, with one of those laws going before the Supreme Court, where some people may not be that educated enough to know that they're having a child, and if they want to have an abortion, they probably can't, you see, because they don't have the right education, especially to earn money to take care of the child. And what do you get? You get a state government that tells you, well, that's just too bad. So if you're poor and you're having a child, well, that's just too bad. And once you have more children, you go deeper into poverty. That's the way it works. So unfortunately, Mississippi is tied somewhere there with West Virginia. So two of the lowest educated states, and they happen to be two of the reddest states. that heavily support Donald Trump.